Welcome back, everybody. David and Darla here with Stevens Elite Vacations, and today we're going to talk about
passports.
Do you need them? We'll find out. All right, everybody, we're going to talk about passports. Do you need them? We're going to go over some of the pros and cons of having to get a passport, because there's really not that many cons, right? So we're just going to talk about a few things, and we're going to kind of give our experience on passports. Now, first off, passport, all right, it's just an extra expense. So if this is your first cruise and you don't plan on ever going out of the country or anything like that, it can be a little expensive. I mean, it's just added on, right? Especially if you're trying to go for the, like I said, cruise is probably the best bang for your buck. So if you're trying to get in there really cheap, that's just an extra expense. So passports, how much would a passport run?
$130 for adults.
$130.
$100 for minors.
$100 for minors.
Plus, you have to pay for an acceptance fee.
Acceptance fee. So it's like $35. So.
Yeah.
So you got $35 and then $130 for an adult, basically.
That's just for the passport book.
Just for the passport book. Now, they do have a passport card that you can get.
It's $30.
That's $30. Now, passport card you can use it just like I guess an ID to get on and off the ship type thing. But if you're in port and something happens, you can't use that passport card like you can a passport. If you need to fly out of the country, you still have to have a passport for that. So, right, that's
so
one of
these.
these.
Like an ID.
Yeah, it's more like an ID, I believe. So, correct me if I'm wrong. You can leave it in the comments. Don't hate me. All right, now, so that's kind of the only con. Now we've been on how many cruises?
8.
8, or will this be our 8th? This might be our 8th, right? So I'll say this: only one cruise we've had a passport. We got our passport in 2019 to go to China. So we had to have a passport there because we flew to China.
You had to have a visa too.
We had to have a visa too, yeah. So it was an expense there.
Yes.
So all the other cruises before that, we didn't have a passport. Now that we have a passport, we're glad we do. Trust me. For the pros of having a passport. All right. Now, one of the pros is if something does happen off the ship, you get left because you decided to hang out too long at Mr. Sancho's whatever bows. If you decide to hang out there too much and you get left and you gotta fly back to the U.S. You don't have a passport, you're gonna be in trouble. All right. You all right down there, bud? All right. If you don't have a passport, you're gonna be in trouble. Another thing, another advantage of having it is, in my case, I didn't realize my driver's license was about to expire one time on one of them, and it freaked me out when I found out. I went somewhere, I had to show them my ID, and they were like, oh, "This is expired," and this was like a few weeks before our cruise.
Yeah.
Freaked me out because I'm thinking, how am I gonna? I was worried all the way. It came in the Thursday before we left on that Saturday or Sunday. That's how close it was. Now you can go online a lot and do a renew online, and they'll give you you can print out a picture, but I wasn't 100% sure they would take that, and it freaked me out the whole time. I'm gonna be honest, it freaked me out the whole time. So yes, with the passport, it's good for 10 years. Adults are good for 10 years. Kids are good for 5 years. So when we got on this ship this past time, we had our passports, and it was quick.
Yeah, and we didn't have to take an extra photo. They just used the photo from our passport.
Yeah, they did. They scanned our passport. Even when we left, we got out of there quicker because we just had to walk in front of a camera, and it gave us the green light, and we were out. If you didn't have a passport, you had to go to a whole nother line. So Now, do you have to have a passport?
No.
No, you don't. You don't if it is a what's called a closed loop cruise, meaning, I mean, there's a few other things that can potentially throw it off, but if you leave from one port, you go to all your stops and you come back to that same port, and that's where it ends. That's called a closed loop. So you don't need a passport for that. Now, if you say leave from New Orleans, you go down to the Bahamas, and you come back to Port Canaveral, you have to have a passport because that's not a closed loop. So there are a couple of countries in the Bahamas that do require a passport to get off the ship in their area. There are two countries. Let's see. I cannot even pronounce them. I ain't even gonna try to find them. I can't pronounce the name of them for nothing. Yeah? We ain't been there, and we probably ain't never gonna go there. So anyway, there are a couple countries that do require it. Now there are some cruises that I've heard and I've seen where there may be some confusion about it, but there are some cruises that are requiring you to have a passport. So you make sure that if you're going on a cruise that you do check those out, okay? And make sure that wherever you're stopping, check those islands or check those countries that you're going to find out if you do need to get a passport or you need a passport to get off at that port. Last thing you want to do is be excited to get off the ship and they won't let you off the ship, okay? They'll still let you cruise, you just got to stay on the ship. So
And being on the ship is fun, but I just like to explore.
Yeah. So now passports. If you have to say you're flying, you have to fly. Say you want to take an Alaskan cruise, right? If you have to fly from the U.S. to Canada to get on that cruise, you got to have a passport.
Don't you have a passport just to go to Canada?
Yeah, you gotta have a passport. Just go to Canada. But there was I think a situation where a family had booked a trip, and just so happened the stop the plane had a layover in Canada or something like that, right? So they had a layover in Canada. They thought since I think they were flying to Alaska from the U.S., but went and they were taking a cruise in Alaska, and their flight had a layover in Canada, and they didn't realize they had to have a passport for their child.
Oh, wow.
So needless to say, they were not happy campers when they found out they wasn't going to be able to go on that trip because they did not get on that ship. They were not allowed to. The child was not allowed to fly, and obviously, they're not like us. I mean, we'll leave our kids. No, we won't leave our kids. All right.
We'll leave them at home with their grandparents.
We won't leave them. Also, repositioning cruises, right? So pretty much, if it starts somewhere and ends somewhere else, you got to have a passport. So that means repositioning cruises, one-way cruises, transatlantic cruises. Because transatlantic cruises, I believe you still got to have it because I don't think it makes the big loop, right? Most of the time, right? Now, I'm not 100% sure on the big whatever 6 month cruise that they got going on. So if it's closed loop, maybe it's okay, but there's probably some of those countries in there that will require you to have a passport. That particular cruise probably will require you to have a passport just because, if
you're visiting so many.
Yeah, and something could potentially happen while you're on the cruise and they need to get you off. So and they don't want to deal with that. So now, what do you need if you don't have a passport and you want to take a cruise? You need a state ID that is not expired. No. And you need a original birth certificate, meaning you need one that has the crimped stamp, right? It doesn't have to be the original one that you got when you were born, right? You can get a copy of it, but it has to be a certified original, what they call original one that's crimped. In other words, you can't take your birth certificate, make a photocopy of it, and then take it up there. They will not accept that. You will not get on the boat. The ship.
It's not
the ship. You will not get on the ship. So make sure you have an official state ID and your birth certificate.
It's good to make an appointment to get your passport.
Oh, that's a great. When we went and get our passport, we didn't realize we were supposed to make an appointment. So we just showed up at the post office to get our passport, and we didn't know if they were going to give it to us. ended up letting us in because there was nobody else there at the time, but they ended up doing it. But you know, if you need to get a passport, you need to make sure that you do it in plenty of time, because it takes a few 3 weeks, I believe, for your passport to actually come in after you do all the paperwork and everything. So you will make sure you get that taken care of as well. You don't need a passport to go to Puerto Rico.
No, it's U.S.
Nope, don't need a passport to go there. So you can fly there and back without a passport.
The Virgin Islands too, correct?
Yes, and the Virgin Islands. She's correct. Now, if you take a cruise from the U.S. to Puerto Rico on a one-way trip, you got to have your passport.
What?
Yes, because that falls under the one-way voyage
Yeah, but
rule.
it's still U.S.
You still got to have one. So, not sure, it's been a few years back, but it was the Western Hemisphere Travel Initiative is what it's called. The reason the closed loop doesn't have to have a passport. That was now for us now. If I'm gonna be honest, and I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. All right, if you're taking we didn't have a passport on our first one. We just used our birth certificate and our ID on our very first cruise. Right. At the time, we had no plans to do anything other than cruising, and we knew we didn't need a passport to do any of that. Right. We don't obviously. If something happened off the ship, you know. But in our mind, we were just kind of rolling the dice. So now, are we glad we have one? Yes. Do we recommend you get one? Yeah, we probably would recommend you get a passport, especially if you plan on doing more than one cruise. Okay. And I'll tell you, after you take one cruise, you're most likely going to want to take another one. Okay. And we've used the passport, like I said, we used it to go to China. We flew down to Jamaica one time for our 20th anniversary. Yes, it was awesome. All right. We flew to Jamaica, stayed at a resort down there, so passport came in handy. Okay. So
We even use it to fly here.
yeah, we use it flying here. Yeah, we don't have to take our, have our,
ID,
we have our ID, but but yeah, we use it. Like I said, it's good for 10 years. I mean, your driver's license is only good for what, 4?
Yes.
4 years. So, yeah, it's good for 10 years. You can have her passport photo made at any Walgreens, CVS, Walmart.
I don't
maybe.
know if Walmart does it.
Walmart may not do it, but anyway, you can. So you got to have a. So when you go get your passport, you got to have a passport photo. And I'm not sure if they actually did it at the post office. Would they?
They will.
Okay.
They'll charge you.
Yeah, they charge you.
But I mean, they will.
Yeah, and don't smile in your photos on your passport.
And
They don't like that. You can't
no
smile.
glasses.
No glasses. You can't smile. You just got to be like
No earbuds.
almost like a mug shot.
No earbuds.
No expression on your face.
None.
None. So, all right. But that's it. Yeah, we just want to talk about passports. What do you guys think? Do you think you need it? Or do you have one? Can we ask that? Yeah. I mean, I guess it's okay. I thought, people get real finicky when it comes to like.
You don't have to say
Yeah, you
whether
don't
you do
say,
or not. I mean, if you want to, you can.
Do you
but-
prefer? Well, I mean, if you got one, I guess you'd prefer it. But
Well, no, just because you have it doesn't mean you prefer it. Maybe you just have it just because you had to have it, but you don't take it.
are you
anywhere else.
mad that you had to get a passport to go on this cruise? That's what we want to know. Are you upset that you had to get a passport to go on this cruise? All right.
You're so silly.
That's where we're gonna leave this. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Till next time. Go see the world.
Bye.
See you. Oh, wait a minute. Cut back. Back on. Add this to the end. Editing department. We don't have an editing department. I am the editing department. If you guys plan on taking a vacation somewhere, would it be a cruise? Travel agent. We need to write that down. Travel agent, right?
Darla Stevens.
Darla, D-A-R-L-A, Stevens, S-T-E-V-E-N-S, right? Why should you use a travel agent? Because it doesn't cost anything extra at all, okay? So you want to use a travel agent. Like I said, Travelocity, any of these sites, they are travel agent sites, okay? The difference in using a personal travel agent and like a Travelocity or something like that is I'm just gonna be honest. Can I say that? The last 2-3 times that we've done something through Travelocity, I did not get what they promised. Okay? The last time was our hotel room did not have, the pool was out of order, and the hot tub was broke.
And no waffle maker.
And no waffle maker. No waffle maker. Okay, now I don't know if the travel agent knows that there's a waffle, but you know what? A good travel agent will call and make sure everything is going, everything is working.
I wasn't a travel agent back then.
She was not a travel agent back then, yep. All right. Then there was another time we went to stay at the beach, and I asked the guy, is this room, this condo, beachside? That man told me that, oh yeah, you can open your back door and walk right onto the sand. We get to our room, it's like 5 floors up, facing the side of the building. I was so mad. Okay, he didn't have a clue because he'd never been there. He was from probably New Jersey or something. I don't know. All right. So when you use Travelocity, yes, you can get great prices. Right? They'll bundle them all up and everything, but you kind of 50-50 if you're gonna get what you think you're gonna get, because you're gonna have to call somebody and they're gonna just tell you what you want to hear. I'm gonna just be honest with you. Okay. So and then Travelocity, Expedia, and all that, they're all owned by the same. It's just one big company. They all own all of them, right? So use a personal travel agent, right? Somebody that'll make the phone call, somebody that'll check in and everything, somebody will make sure that what it says is there. All right? So all right, that's it. Thank you. See you.